Hello, hello, hello. One second here. Let me pull this down. All right. I did not have time to make a short yesterday to tell I was going to go live. I'm going to be live for just a little bit. So I got a lot of interesting comments for the two videos I made, and we could talk about it. Honestly, I think that's a good thing to do. So I think that it is imperative. So, for example, if you like to collect watches like I do, okay, if a watch sits in your box forever and you don't use it, or you just, when you wear it, doesn't do anything for you, what's the point of holding on to it? That's basically my opinion. And honestly, I think that's a good idea because it's just sitting there. I mean, unless you're just holding it. But then again, this is the thing about these things. They're meant to be worn, they're meant to be used, they're meant to be lived in. And that's what makes them so unique. If you collect coins, coins are really cool. You could collect them, they are. And baseball cards and cards are really cool if you collect those as well. But the thing is honestly, it's going to be very different because you can't just walk outside with your baseball card. You can't just walk outside with your coins, like it's not something you can use. This is something you can use. And that's what makes them so unique. And I really do enjoy that a lot. Yeah, I just really do enjoy it. And I had a couple comments. Why would you sell it? Why would you do that? Okay, so let me give you a little bit of a background story. I never really talked about this, but I will now. So I had a 114270. Okay, that was one of my favorite watches of all time. I love that watch. It was so beautiful. That is a Rolex Explorer, and I think it was from 2007, 2005. I don't remember exactly. So I will say this. I could be wrong on that, but I don't remember. But like I said, I will say this. I miss that watch every single day of my life, ever since I sold it. Okay, I sold it for two reasons. Number one, I had to get out of it. I had to do something. I needed money. I won't talk about what any money is for personal reasons. I needed money, so I ended up selling it. Number two, I was in a relationship for 8 years, and every time I look at that watch, it reminded me of that relationship. And I know that sounds stupid, but a lot of the times, a lot of things that happen while I was wearing that watch, and I when I looked at it, it would make me think about that stuff, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I decided to let it go. And then I bought a two-tone Datejust, a 116233, and it had a pyramid dial, if I remember correctly, the pyramid dial. So it was really nice. I really did enjoy that Datejust, but it wasn't my Explorer. I should have never sold it. And I think I'm not the only one that feels this way. Most people don't understand an Explorer until you buy one. If you ever buy an Explorer or you ever hold one in your hands, it won't make any sense to you. But it's just wonderful. The way that it is designed is great. And you honestly sometimes forget about it being on your wrist. Like, that's the thing about the sub is like, everyone knows what a sub is. That is pretty much the definition of a dive watch. If anyone's looking at a dive watch, say, oh, it's a sub. So please to keep that in mind is, if you do have a sub, and I did make a video about this, about how, you're not just going to be able to wear it. People are going to be like, oh, that's a sub. They're going to know exactly what that is. So, but a Rolex Explorer, not so much. And that's what I really like about it is the Rolex Explorer is one of the most understated pieces of that Rolex has, I should say. And most people have no idea what it is. Um, when I had my 114270, I never had, I think I had maybe, so excuse me, let me rephrase this. I had one or two people tell me, hey, that's a really cool Rolex, but they were watch people. They're not just your regular run-of-the-mill people. They were watch guys just like myself. So if you're a watch guy, you're going to know what it is. But the majority of people will not know who they are. They're just not going to know what it is, unless you tell them, hey, this is a Rolex. If you're wearing a Submariner, a lot of times people will ask you. They know exactly what it is, which is very strange, but that's just how it works. Okay, and honestly, I think that is very unique. about the Submariner is it does have its benefits. It is a little more heavy. Um, Honestly, like I said in the video that I had, is if they were to ever make a Submariner that was a two-tone that did not have a date window, I would buy it. But that does not exist. And even if it did exist, we all know that the premium on that would be ridiculous. It would be absolutely ridiculous because it's the first one, so it would just be ridiculous. I don't even know. I couldn't even think of how much that would cost. Like, because you know you're not going to get one from the store. There's no way you're going to be able to go walk into a Rolex store and buy one. Matter of fact, last time I walked in there, fuck you for whoever I talked to. Um, they looked so. This is how bad they are. You know, in my opinion. I walked in, and I'm not going to name which one it is, but all my friends know exactly what I'm talking about because I have told them this story. I'm wearing a Seiko SKX. I don't know about you guys. That's an awesome watch. That really is. If you need 1 second here. Let's see. All right. So where was that here? So Seiko SKX is an awesome watch. I made a video about that as well. Okay. Hold on a second. Turn it back this way. All right. And just think about it. I walk in there with that. I don't know about you guys, but that is a classic watch. The SKX, regardless of how much money it cost, it is a classic watch. They don't make that anymore. And if I remember correctly, they've gone up. I mean, mine was like 80 bucks, 110 bucks when I bought it. Now they're like $300 or $400 because they don't make them no more. They decided to go with the Prospects line, if I understand, or the Seiko 5 series, but they dropped off the 37 millimeter size, the 38 millimeter size, and that sucks a lot. So with that being said, let me go into more depth of what I'm talking about. Okay. I walk in the store, okay, and I'm wearing an SKX like I already mentioned. They look at the watch. They don't even say hi to me. I'm looking at stuff, I'm looking at stuff in the counter for what they did have. They had a Rolex Explorer there at the time that they were wanting to sell. It was a 39 millimeter. I don't like the dimensions of that. I never have. I have a friend that has one. It just looks strange to me. Maybe some people like it, and that's fine. And I think that's cool. Some people like stuff, some people don't. That's okay. I just didn't like the way it looked. And then they had a couple of Datejust, which they always do, and then they had a couple of presidents, and then they had stuff. They had like the Yachtmaster, the rose gold Yachtmaster, there as well. So I walk in there and I tell them, hey, I'm looking for. Do you guys have any of the Submariners? This is before the 41 millimeter size came around. So this is like 2 or 3 years ago. And they're like, yeah, yeah. She looked at my watch and then immediately just like didn't acknowledge me. And then when I had to talk to her, I had to speak to her. She didn't say, hi, how are you doing? And that's like one of the worst things I've ever seen because anytime I've walked into an Omega store, it doesn't matter who they are, who it is, everyone gets a fair shake. Hello, how are you doing? They're very respectful. And you can say whatever you want to about Omega, but their staff is incredible. They're very kind, very gracious, at least in my experience that I have seen. Rolex, I can't say the same. So yeah, so she looked at, and then she immediately just started like, I started like talking about her. She's like, well, tell me about, and then she started asking me it was like a job interview. Like, what do you do? What is this? What is that? It was like trying to see what they could get out of me. So I think it is true that they want you to buy stuff. And I had a friend of mine, they made him buy, not really made him buy, but they basically told him, winked at him in a certain way that if he didn't buy this, then he wouldn't be able to get that. That's pretty much what they told him without telling him that. So he did that because his wife wanted a certain watch, so he ended up buying it for her, and then he had the eligibility, like literally a month later, to buy a GMT Master, the black and black one, the one they discontinued. This is when it was still around. And I thought, and him and I were just like, that's crazy, dude. Like that's wild. Like that's why would they do that? But they just do, I guess. I don't know. So I'm not the only one at that boutique that's had that experience, but yeah, they basically looked down on me. If I'd walked in there in my Patek Philippe on, they probably would have been, oh my God, what can we do for you, sir? But then again, I don't know. I have no idea. And this goes back to when I used to do sales. Is I would I would treat everybody with the same respect. I mean, I remember working at Art of Shaving one time. A guy came in. He looked like a dad. I mean, like a straight up dad. Like he had the New Balance shoes. He had the white socks. He had he had the shirt tucked in with the shorts on. He had the phone clip. You know what I'm talking about? The one that's on the belt that's really big. It looks like a giant TV on the side of their hip. And all he was missing was like a regular baseball hat, and he'd be a Corvette owner. Like that's how much of a dad he looked like. And he bought $1,000 worth of stuff in cash. And if he would have walked in the store and I mistreated him based on the way he looked, I bet you wouldn't have bought a damn thing from me. But I treated him with respect and talked to him and was really gracious with him. And he came back and bought from me again and again and again over the time that I was at Art of Shaving. So it wasn't just a one-time thing. This is the first time that I saw him. And every time he came in, he would specifically ask for me, from what I remember. So I will say this. I don't think Rolex has that opinion. I mean, just the way that I was treated, it was just horrible. And that's what I was saying is, if go back to our original point is, if I were to go get a two-tone Rolex Submariner, no date, which doesn't exist yet, maybe it will exist one day, but I highly doubt it. But they've been doing stuff lately where it's like, I have no idea if that's going to happen or not. But if it did happen, it would just be ridiculous. I mean, I don't think you'd be able to get your hands on it for at least 3 or 4 years. And even at that point, if you were to get your hands on it, it would skyrocket by that point. It would just skyrocket. I mean, the cost of it would be ridiculous. So that's something else to keep in mind. I would also suggest that if you want a watch and you're not a watch person, like let's say you're just not a watch person, you look at it, you're like, man, that's expensive. I don't want to buy that. I don't know nothing about it. Whatever. Buy a Seiko. Buy a Seiko. Many people that I know of, if you tell them, hey, I I'm going to I'm going to look, any watch person I know of will tell you go buy a Seiko. A lot of people, because Seikos are well known, they're really well made for what they are, and they're just beautiful. Some of them are really beautiful, the way that they do the design and the work of them and things of that nature. And for the price, they're really nice. And you don't have to buy them new. You can go and buy them pre-owned and used, so you miss out on a lot of that upfront cost. And I know that sounds silly, but some people that are out of touch don't realize $100, $200, $300 for a regular person is extremely expensive. It is extremely expensive to them, and I remember that because I was a college student for a long time, so I had $0. I had nothing. So I remember what it's like to have that, and we don't really have any money to do anything. You barely have enough money to eat. You have enough money to function pretty much, and that's about it. So, yeah. So if you don't know what to get a Seiko, man. Get a Seiko. I would strongly suggest just get a Seiko and go with it, and then love it, enjoy it. And you know what? At a later time in your life, buy something that you'd like. Buy an Omega, buy a Rolex, buy whatever you want. That would be my suggestion. Um, and I think that's a good idea because most people, if you're in college or you really, really don't have a lot of money to spend, a Seiko is a great thing to get into. And unlike if you go buy an Apple Watch or a Samsung Watch or whatever, you can go with that Seiko for pretty much a long time. And I mean a long time. I've had friends that have had them serviced for 15 or 20 years, running the same movement, the same thing, still keeps the same time, the same everything. And it's a Seiko. So you say what you want to about Seikos. Yeah, they're not as accurate. Oh my God, they're not prestige watchmaking. Who cares? They're a great watch, in my opinion. They really are. And if you're not a watch person, or you just, what do I get? If I were just to just buy one watch, what would I get? That's it. Buy a Seiko. If you have money, you have desire to actually go more than that, then that's when you start looking at, okay, what is it that you like? So this is what I do with myself. If you're going to have a watch collection, people say, why did you sell the Submariner and buy the Rolex Explorer? Okay, I could have bought a Rolex Explorer, the one I'm wearing. I could have bought it outright. But the thing is, I want to. I'm not wearing the Submariner. I don't really care much for it. It doesn't do anything for me. I think I bought it because I thought I liked it until I started wearing it. And I'm like, I don't really care much for this. It's just not for me. And that was pretty much the attitude that I had. I gave it a fair shot, so I gave it a year. So and I sometimes I would leave it in the watch box for a while, and then try to put it back on and see if I had that magic again. And I just never had it. It just never came back. So I just okay, you know. And then when I come to sell it, I sold it for what I bought it for. So I mean, did I if I'd have sold it by myself, I would probably would have made more money, but I don't really care, and I didn't really lose any money, so it was like, okay. I didn't want to just sit in a box. Some people do that. They buy stuff and just let it sit there. I can't. That drives me nuts. It's like the same as like the guys that do classic cars. They have classic cars sitting in their driveway. I'll get around to it one day. I'll get around to it one day. It just rots back into the earth, you know, or it just gets to the point where it would just take so much money to rebuild it because they just let it sit there. And that's my opinion of it. If I'm going to have something, and I mentioned this before in several of my videos, if I'm going to have something, I will wear it. I'm not going to wear it. So that's something that I definitely wanted to talk about today and address that because of the videos that I have made now. And honestly, I feel like if it's something you want to get into, definitely get into it. It's dangerous though. Watch collecting is very dangerous because you can do things a lot. And what I mean by that is you can collect at a smaller level, like I said, Seikos, or you can collect at a larger level, like Omegas and Rolexes, and then you have Pateks, you have Epi Jordan. It's different all throughout. So please do keep that in mind. But in general, I just wanted to address that today. Hop on real quick and address that. So anyway, I got stuff I got to do, so I'm gonna head out of here. If you haven't gone to my Instagram channel, it's linked down in the description, and I will see y'all later. And thank y'all for visiting the Fellow Gent, and y'all have a nice day.